Hey everyone, haven't made a video in a while, so let's get back to it. I used to try to put a video out once a week. That is just way too many videos. Get a little burnt out doing it. This is not my job. And I'll run out of ideas and run out of guns to show you. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll try to do a video once a month. Okay, so what do we have here today? So right now we have a couple of pistols that I own. These were all purchased used, and they were all police surplus pistols. So the channel name is milsurp cat, and we do talk about military surplus, but today we're going to be talking about police surplus. And police surplus works in a very similar way to military surplus. Police surplus pistols generally come out of police departments. They were issued, and then when they upgrade the pistols, they usually sell them all in a lot. Someone bids on it, or they buy it from them, and then they release it to civilians. So all four of these pistols were formerly police trade-in pistols. And like military surplus, police trade pistols they dry up. They're out there and then they're gone. And the time to get a surplus pistol from the police department and get it kind of cheap is when they come out. And once they're out, they're kind of gone. So these pistols I have purchased kind of in the last 10 years. And the era of these metal frame pistols coming out of police departments, it's probably drying up. And now what you're gonna see more often are pistols that were kind of adopted in the late 90s, early 2000s, and you're gonna be seeing a lot of Glocks and a lot of M&Ps. I saw a bunch of M&P 9s, the first gen ones, but actually those are somewhat drying out as well. And now it's 2024, I do see a lot of Gen 3 Glocks, which are pretty good. So if you're interested in getting a Gen 3 Glock, you can pick it up. One reason people tend to not kind of go for those compared to these pistols, these are metal frame pistols except for this H&K. Metal frame pistols I think hold up a bit better to wear. The polymer frame Glocks, they start to get shiny, they start to get really worn. Also, Glocks in general have not really changed that much. From the Gen 2 to the Gen 5, pretty much the same. So if you're looking for that kind of Glock shape, Glock like compatibility, you don't really need to be getting a Glock Gen 3 when you could be just getting, you know, the Gen 5. And the prices for the Gen 3s, I see them going for kind of as low as $350-ish. I think before they used to be around $300-ish. They're just not, you know, people do collect them, and I'm sure they will be collectible later on, because, you know, now it's like, oh, they're just like regular Glocks, but, you know, in 10 years, people will be like, oh, Gen 3s were like, they don't make them like that anymore. Anyway, so if you are interested in getting a Glock, now is maybe one of the times to get that. But today we're gonna be talking about some of the police trades that I have. Okay, so when I was in school, I did not have very much disposable money, but I wouldn't go out to eat and I wouldn't buy any coffee. So during graduate school, I'd set a limit for a lot of these pistols for myself to about 500 bucks. And all these pistols here were purchased for about 500 or less. I mainly purchased them from AIM Surplus. AIM Surplus is still around. They do still sell surplus pistols, but I'm not as interested anymore because a lot of the pistols I was interested in were like kind of these 80s era pistols. Not only did I get it from AIM Surplus, I got one of these pistols, this 226 from iAmmo, and I believe I got this H&K USP from GT Distribution, or GT Dist in Texas. I think AIM Surplus is out of somewhere in Ohio. Okay, so let's talk about the pistols from left to right. Right here we have a FN high power. So I know people also call it a Browning high power, but John Moses Browning actually developed the FN high power. I can't remember, I think it's Saiv, with a gentleman named Saiv. I think he died before it was completed. In 1935, they completed it. Browning used to sell the FN high power used to be kind of this high gloss blue. They're really gorgeous pistols. But you can also get them from FN, and they were typically Parkerized. I do also have another FN high power. I don't have it with me right now. It was one of these rare ones that came with an aluminum frame, and it was a lightweight FN high power. But this is just a steel frame, and this is the Mark III. The Mark III you can tell because the sights, the dovetails are a little bit higher profile. And then on some of the Mark IIIs, they have a ambidextrous safety. This one has the kind of original safety. But this pistol design is roughly 90 years old almost. But this one in particular was made in the 80s, just based off the serial number. On the bottom of this high power, there is a somewhat discreet import mark. So this, if I remember right, these were brought in at a time like kind of 2017, 2016-ish. These were brought in when AIM Surplus was getting a lot of pistols from Israel. Now with the conflict in Israel, I'm guessing there's probably a lot less imports from there. But this gun came kind of heavily used. And what you might expect from police trade pistols from Israel is that they're going to be pretty beat up. Not only did I get this high power from Israel, I got that alloy high power. That one also came from Israel, and that one was beat up. I got that one refinished. I had a P228 from Israel, and I ended up selling that one because it was the most rattly gun. It was still reliable, but it was just way too beat up, and I ended up replacing it with a better condition one. And I believe this 226 is also from Israel. This 226 also has the import mark. This import mark is pretty ugly because it's into the aluminum frame. One thing to note is that the high power, most of the high powers have these steel frames, and you can refinish steel pretty easily. You can, you're not supposed to remove the import mark, but you can definitely sand it to smooth it out. On the aluminum frame, you're not gonna really be able to do that without kind of making a mess of your frame. And then eventually you would have to get it re-anodized. And typically, when they refinish pistols, steel is really easy to refinish. You can re-parkerize it, you can re-blue it, and you're not really removing material. When you re-anodize aluminum, it can change the dimensions of the rails and things like that. So generally people don't recommend re-anodizing the aluminum frames. If you send these pistols to Sig, they can refinish your slides, but they will generally not touch the aluminum frames. Okay, this is, oh, and just to note, this is a 226, an older generation 226. This one comes with the folded steel slide. It's a carbon steel slide, so this is a blued slide. And this Sig was made in West Germany, so it's a little bit more collectible. People like to see that West German roll mark. And then it's got the original Sig grips. These grips, they don't make them anymore. You can replace them with the plastic grips like on this 229. However, they just won't look as classic. They just don't sell these grips anymore, and these are kind of fragile. So if you do get one with these grips, yeah, try to take care of it. And that was something that I was kind of interested in. Generally, when you buy police trade pistols, you don't really get a choice in what pistol you get. You can pay for hand pick, and I generally actually pay for the hand pick. I've been burnt a few times. I did buy a hand pick SKS from Classic Firearms, and that SKS was just in such rough shape that I've never purchased anything from Classic Firearms again. Because when I told them like, hey, like this does not look hand picked, with AIM Surplus, if you tell them that, like, you're like, you know, there's not only cosmetic issues, there's some mechanical issues. They'll pay you back your money and they'll also give you a credit back. But with Classic Firearms, they did not want to budge whatsoever, and they didn't want to like rectify the situation at all. And for that, I'll never buy anything from them again. Okay, so this P229 was also bought from AIM Surplus. And this one, if you look at this 226, there's like some wear on the edges. I think there's some wear on the frame. But this 229, besides a few scratches, it's in like almost immaculate condition. Police trade pistols tend to have a decent amount of wear, especially on the grip, because the pistol's being carried a lot, it's getting bumped into stuff, they're like grabbing it sometimes, they're training with it, but generally internally the pistols are in like very good condition. But outside they can be kind of beat up. This 229 actually was in really, really good conditions. I didn't even change the grip out, but generally the thing that's exposed on a 226 or 229 series pistol are these grips. And if you just change the grips out, the gun can almost be as good as new. But this 229, I don't know what they did with it, but they literally did nothing. This 229 is the legacy slide. So current 229s look more kind of like the 226. This 229 has this kind of relief cut. And then also the sights on this 229, they are night sights, but generally if you get night sights with a police trade pistol, they're going to be pretty dim or dead. You could always replace them if you want, but anyway, this pistol, I remember I bought this one for $400, and I'm very happy with you know, what I got for it. And I don't know if they upgrade it, but this has a short reach trigger as well as a short reset trigger. So the reset on this pistol is quite short compared to this 226. So I can demonstrate that right now. Here, all right, show this empty, pull the trigger, let go, hasn't reset yet. There's the reset. And compared to the 229, safety check, and watch this reset. There, it's already reset. So I don't know if that comes standard. I thought typically that was a upgrade, but anyway, this was a great value. Yes, it's a bit heavy. Yes, it's a bit bulky compared to now. But you know, if you just want a solid, somewhat compact 9mm pistol, I don't think you can go wrong with this, and you're getting a really, really good value, especially because these 229s are probably around $800 to $900. I got it for half the price, and this one is in great condition, and it's a bit more collectible because it's one of these older versions. Okay, last is this H&K USP45. I have, if you see my previous videos, I have a USP45 tactical. I also showed this pistol in a previous video. I really like the look of just the standard USP. If you've seen the movie Collateral with Tom Cruise, you'll really like the USP45s. And I just wanted to have the additional flavor of the USP. This one I got, I think it was I want to say it's $350 or $325 from GT Dist. It's not in the greatest condition, but you know, USPs are supposedly, you know, very reliable. So if it's just worn on the outside and it's been carried a lot, that really should not, you know, impede the quality or the reliability of this pistol. Okay, this pistol, according to the date code, was made in 1999. I did replace the hammer. If you didn't know this, USPs have hammers with a little rubber bit on the back, and that rubber can get worn if you manually cock it. So I took off the original one, I kind of restored it and then sold it, and then I just bought a replacement one, and it's pretty much as good as new. The thing to note about police trade pistols as well as military surplus, this is mostly actually for police trade because it's for pistols. Pistols with the polymer frames, they can get really worn and shiny. If you own a new USP, you'll know that there's kind of a texture on the frames, and it's a bit matte, and it has this kind of I don't know, shimmer, I guess, because there's like, I don't know if it's like the glass filled nylon, I have no idea. But comparing this frame to my other frames of the same era, this one is like very shiny. So it's been worn, and you can't really restore polymer. It's basically, once it looks like that, it's just gonna look like that. You can clean it, but it's not gonna remove that shine or remove that wear. One thing you could do is you could Cerakote it, I think. I've heard that Cerakote does take well to polymer, even though I feel like it shouldn't because it's kind of flexible. I was thinking about doing that, but I think I'm just gonna leave it in its current condition. Typically what I've learned over the last 10 years is like, I just tend to not really mess with my guns. Especially kind of older ones. I don't really modify them or anything. I might change out a few parts, but I don't really want to change the value on some of these guns, but I try to refinish it. And I typically tend to regret after I do it. Now, if the gun is really beat up, I will like refinish it or re-blue it. And I will try to stay, you know, use the same sort of finish that was on the gun originally. And speaking of that, this high power, I did change the grips out. The high power grips are really flimsy and they kind of bend and warp. The high power grip is only held by one screw, and the one that I had was just really like, it was just not on there. And instead of replacing with another one, I just put a G10 grip on there. This was a tan G10 grip, and I was trying to RIT dye it to be brown, and you can see that I've failed miserably. It just kind of turned black. So yeah, other pistols that I've purchased from Aim Surplus, I have to try to think. So I have that other high power. I got a CZ75, I think for $275. I think that's about it. I did regret not getting one of the Glock 19 Gen 2s. Those looked pretty cool. The wear on them was pretty awesome. But typically if I want to get a pistol now, I try to get one in pretty good condition, and now that I have a job instead of being in grad school, I tend to look a little bit more to find one that's in the condition that I want instead of playing the lottery. And now it is pretty, you know, addicting to play this lottery and get what you get. That is definitely fun, and you do tend to get a good deal if you shop around. But now the days of getting some of these older pistols, unless they're coming kind of from foreign sources, you're not going to be getting these metal frame pistols. Okay, so where should you go to get these? As I mentioned before, Aim Surplus is a good place. I think it's iAmmo was another place that I got it. GT Distributions is a good place. And I believe there's a YouTube channel called the Mosin Crate. And he has a different kind of ordering, like you need to send an email, and it's kind of the lottery system. But he's got some really nice pistols, and I do like the fact that he actually films them and he shows you the actual condition of the pistol, and then you can bid, or not bid, but you can put in your order for a particular serial number that you see. The only issues are that you might not get it because, you know, your email might come in later than someone else's email. And the other thing is that his prices are pretty reasonable because I think it's kind of a one-man show, and because it's a one-man show, he has pretty low overhead, so he's able to kind of give you the pistols, not at cost, but definitely he doesn't mark them up too much. So anyway, these are my police surplus pistols. If you have any questions about where to get them or what to look for, please leave a comment. If you like this sort of video on this overview of kind of what you can get, or kind of the philosophy of looking for police surplus or military surplus, please leave a like. And then yeah, if you like to see more of these videos, I'm trying to make a video about once a month or maybe 2 videos a month. Please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. All right, take care.